Imagine you go to the movies with a friend. You see whatever is new and popular, and afterwards you start discussing it as you leave the theater. You thought the movie was just okay. Meanwhile, your friend turns to you and says, "That movie was really good." How do you respond? Do you A, disagree and have a discussion with them about it, B, ask why they liked it and hear them out, or C, rip off your shirt in a frothing rage and ask how dare they represent their opinion as objective fact, that they're a monster for trying to speak for everyone and declare the movie as really good? Then you launch into your rehearsed speech about how important it is to remember everyone has a different opinion, and I think you get the point of this exaggerated example. The reason you would not do this, and to be clear here, if you have done this to someone, you owe them an apology, is because even though the statement has no formal declaration of an opinion, the subjective nature of it is implied, both by the situation that it's taking place in, a casual conversation after seeing a movie, and by the basics of communication. Everyone knows different people like different things, and that no one is actually trying to speak for everyone when they make statements like, "That movie was really good," right?
No, that's wrong!
Considering that you're watching this on my YouTube channel where I regularly present my opinions in videos, I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, and you may immediately think that it's not fair to compare statements made in everyday conversation to those made in a scripted video. However, I don't think that's true, nor do I think you'd really want that if you fully understood what the result would be. First, let's demonstrate exactly what's happening. The video I released before this one is a great example since there are over 100 comments on it that address objectivity versus subjectivity instead of discussing anything brought up in the video. These are comments that are using a perceived error in presentation as a way to entirely dismiss any points. There's no need to argue anything when you can just say, sometimes self-righteously, "Stop presenting your opinions as objective fact." "Stop thinking you speak for everyone." "Stop mixing facts and opinions together." This has been a problem since the first video that I made on Dark Souls. It is a problem for other content creators and for people who don't make videos but simply want to discuss things online. It's also an issue that is getting weirder as time passes. For some, subjectivity is the problem, not objectivity. These comments do the exact same thing, except this time, the fact that I'm presenting opinions is what's being used to sweep away any need to argue points being made in the video or the article. This is also subjective, so why discuss it? This is just your subjective opinion, so who cares? Personal subjective views aren't worth discussing. Despite using reasons that are literally the opposite of each other, these comments are identical get-out-of-jail-free cards for people who disagree with something being presented to them, or get-out-of-discussion-free cards. Why waste time thinking of counter-arguments when you can just do this instead? It's easy.
It just works.
Most of you are probably thinking this is a bizarre reaction. Unfortunately, it's becoming more and more common, and I feel like I have to address it. If anything, just so I don't have to keep saying the same things time and time again when I speak to people about my videos. First off, it's vital to make it clear that objective opinion pieces do not exist. This is an oxymoronic demand. You are asking for the conversational equivalent of hot frozen ice cream. You're just not gonna get it. If your desire is a video of only objective facts, then you are asking for a dry list of mechanics and low-level terminology that has been carefully vetted for any hint of opinion or subjective leanings. We can talk about how a game may have a sprint function, a jump button, and a death system, but we can't make any statements about how well they work, and only the barest of comparisons to other games that have similar things without flirting with the dreaded O-word opinion. In fact, even those words I just used, sprint, jump, and death, could be called into question if true objectivity is the goal. These videos and articles would be like extensions of video game manuals, except even those can have more character. Conversely, if your desire is a video of subjective opinions that speak for an acceptable minimum amount of people that already hold that opinion, then you don't know how discussions are meant to function. No opinion is truly worthless. Videos like mine are not meant to be a source of confirmation bias. Most content creators do not put up their videos all giddy thinking, "Oh golly gee, I can't wait to see how many people agree with me." While that can be a good thing depending on the topic, their primary purpose is to encourage discussion. Whether you agree or disagree, it should give you something to think about. The most troubling implication of statements like, personal subjective views aren't worth discussing, is the idea that opinions aren't meant to change. This is also seen when opinions are used as a shield or presumed to be used as one. People have also accused me of doing this. You keep saying this is all your opinion as if that makes you immune to criticism. This could not be further from the truth. People change their opinions all the time. That's what discussion is. One person thinks the movie is good, another person thinks the movie is bad. They argue over the points and hopefully reach some compromise or a better understanding of each other's viewpoints. Someone might even be convinced and change their mind, as impossible as that may seem when you've been talking on the internet for so long. It's debatable if there is such a thing as a bad opinion, but there are definitely some that are uninformed or underdeveloped. An article that you disagree with doesn't just function as a way for your mind to be changed about a topic. It can also act as a spark that strengthens your original opinion by challenging it so strongly that you finally work out why you feel the way you do about something. I had some comments on the Odyssey video that said just that, even though that video is fairly negative. They went into detail about how me explaining what I didn't like about the game made them realize why they like it, and they got value out of the video in that way, even though I was criticizing the game for most of the runtime. In my view, that's only half of the issue here though. I think that most people watching this video will recognize that this is elementary stuff. However, in my view, discussing this is necessary because I think that there are a growing number of people who, in my experience, are demanding that every sentence in every video include a "I think that" or "in my opinion" in order to avoid presenting opinions as objective facts. The way I see it, it takes me on average about 1 second to say those opinion tag statements. In my opinion, this would lead to unnecessary clutter when writing and recording scripts for videos. For something as long as Fallout 4 1 year later, I think that the extra time onto every paragraph would result in well over 10 minutes of padding. In my view, this is a worthwhile demonstration of the problems that would result in appeasing this demand. Or, for something quicker, I think that you could look at the time added to just this paragraph I'm speaking right now from all of the "I think that" statements that I went out of my way to include. That's a whopping 10 seconds for just one paragraph, and there are over 20 paragraphs in this script, and this is one of my shortest videos. And remember, it's not just time that's the issue, it restricts sentence structure, creates a ton of monotonous repetition from the same statements again and again, and hampers how creative and varied the scriptwriter can be. So why can't a subjective blanket be assumed to rest over everything, with some sprinkled "in my opinion" statements throughout the script as reminders, which most scriptwriters already do, including myself, to avoid this issue? Well, there are two sides to this problem, the way I see it. The first is that some people are being genuine when they react with outrage that someone is trying to pawn off an opinion as an objective fact. That there really are people like the one in the opening example who get angry when someone says that a movie was really good with no mention that it's an opinion. For these people, it's a matter of quantity and compromise. How many reminders of opinion do you need in a script? Is it half of all opinion statements, 75%, or is it really all of them? I look at this as being the same as citations that are used in textbooks. Not everything is referenced and backed up with direct evidence, even in history books. There's a compromise you make with the author that some information is considered commonly understood and agreed upon, and that most of the references will be contentious points or newly discovered information that needs to be sourced. It is unnecessary for everything to be cited, just like most opinions in an article don't need to be labeled as such. It is an understandable expectation to want a label on all of them, but it simply isn't reasonable. The second side of this problem are people who know full well that there can't be a label on every opinion but still point it out to weaken an argument that they disagree with. This could be caused by an emotional reaction that makes them grasp at any counter that's within their reach, or it could be a calculated response because they are so invested in arguing against whatever position the article has taken, one that they find so abhorrent. For these people, the only answer that I can see is for everyone else to remain vigilant and not allow these responses to gain legitimacy. It's killing discussion and makes things worse for everyone, ironically, especially for those who also disagree with the article and want to properly argue against it. The reason I know this is happening is because I have received comments that have accused me of adding opinion labels as a sneaky way of presenting my views as facts, like some Trojan horse that can force you to change your mind but is also telling you at the same time that it's trying to. In these cases, directly pointing out that I'm voicing an opinion still isn't enough to stop people from dismissing arguments with this excuse. Does all this mean that there's no place for objectivity in videos like mine? Certainly not, and I think it's worth discussing how evidence can strengthen arguments as well as satisfy what I consider to be the responsibility of a content creator that has attracted an audience, big or small. The basic structure that almost all arguments in my videos follow is a subjective judgment on how something works supported by objective evidence from the game. Sometimes the opinion comes first and then the examples show up to reinforce it, sometimes it's the opposite, and I'll say what I think at the end. I want to be absolutely clear here because I already foresee the comments below saying that I'm a giant hypocrite and do try to pass off my opinions as objective after all. Objective evidence does not mean an argument is infallible. It only means that the examples are from the game itself and are tangible proof that the things I am talking about actually happened. They could still be bad arguments. The examples may not match as well as I think they do, or my conclusions may be far from what you think of the game when studying the same examples I'm using. I think that this is what most people mean when they say they want more objectivity in articles and reviews. They know full well that opinions cannot be objective, but they want something supported by evidence, or failing that, an attempt to represent more perspectives than just the writers when it comes to a formal appraisal of something. I consider content creators like myself to be obligated to provide this sort of evidence in most cases. My opinion is not worth more than anyone else's, but it's undeniable that it has much more influence. My videos on Fallout 4 get so many views that just today, more people will listen to me speak my opinions on that series than most people will be listened to about anything in their entire lives. Presenting a list of unsupported opinions would not just be less interesting, it could also be harmful to how people view things, since they may take my words on faith without any evidence to properly judge whether they agree with me or not. This can lead to groups of people repeating information about something that they don't fully understand because they trusted an unsupported source. And maybe that's what some mistakenly believe is happening when there aren't enough "in my opinion" tags throughout an article. But I don't think that's the case. We're all intuitive enough to know when something is an opinion even if it isn't being formally presented as such. If I say Soma fails as a horror game, then it's easy to understand that I don't think that everyone who enjoyed it as a horror game was somehow wrong and didn't understand their own feelings. It's simply an opinion without the tag, just as we're all also intuitive enough to recognize when something is being dismissed as an excuse to not directly answer the points being brought up. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong, and this growing number of people complaining about this issue really do need to have an indication that it's an opinion in every sentence. It makes me recall that saying, if everyone is special, then nobody is. Can't you do the same for opinion statements? If every sentence needs one, can't we all agree that most of them don't? I think that the occasional reminder throughout an article is enough. In my opinion, anyway. Thank you for watching.